I'm working on a sewing project. I'm going to take these two tablecloths that I found at the Restore, which supports Habitat for Humanity, and I think I paid about $5 a piece for these two tablecloths. They're cotton with this cute little fringe, and so I thought I would try and turn them into a long skirt, kind of like a circular flowy skirt, and a little matching top. So that's the project for today. So I cut two circles out. One is for the waist and one is for the neck. So this will be the waist hole, and this will be the neck hole. So I'm going to remove this and add this band on. That was satisfying. So I'm going to take out four sections on each side. So I'm taking this like that, and I'm matching it up to there. And I'm going to sew down here. I'm going to top stitch, pin it all top stitch. But I'm not going to cut out the fullness yet because I want to use the lining in here as a pocket. So I have two side pockets. Okay, I have my side seams taken in, and now I'm going to sew the pocket linings down. I'm going to start somewhere around here, and I'm going to sew down where the pins are, and then around and straight back, and that will create a pocket lining. And I'm going to do the same on this side. So you'll see the pins there. I'll come down like that, and then go back like that, and that will create the pocket lining here. You can see the fabric inside. When I'm finished sewing that, then I'll turn it inside out and I'll cut the rest of the fabric that's in here. I'll cut all of this out, and then I'll get rid of some bulk, and it won't be quite as full, and it'll give me some nice handmade pockets. My husband and I are taking a trip to Scotland, so I wanted a long flowy walking skirt that had pockets deep enough to hold my mini watercolor palette and sketch pad. We plan to hike in the Scottish Highlands, and I think it will be fun to stop along the way to do some quick watercolor sketches. Okay, so now that I have the extra fabric cut out from below the pocket linings, this is what my skirt is starting to look like. And you see I have a nice deep pocket on each side there, and a nice deep pocket here. And so now I'm going to add the fringe, the extra layer on the bottom with the fringe to give it some extra length. Okay, so that's the skirt part finished with the pockets. No waistband yet, just the bottom of the skirt. And now I have to figure out what to do with the top. Okay, so now I don't really have a plan for the top. So I'm just gonna try to figure it out as I go along. Okay, now I'm going to use this piece to make a facing for this neck. So I'm going to take it and just hem this little piece like this all the way around, and then I'm going to sew right sides together on the neck edge, and then I'll flip it and sew it in place. And now I'm going to sew the facing to the shirt on the inside, the bottom of the facing. So to hold everything in place. Okay, now I'm sewing from the bottom of the top up to the underarm. Then I'm going to pivot and sew back down to the bottom. I'm leaving about a ½ inch between the two seams. Then I can cut the seam and slit it right up to the underarm, and that'll create the sleeve and the side seam of the top. I have to be real careful here when I'm cutting this seam that I get close enough to the stitching under the arm so that it doesn't pucker when I turn it right side out and press it, but not so close that I cut through the stitches and leave a hole. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, at the bottom of the top, I'm going to make a little casing. So I want to feed an elastic through a little pocket. So I'm going to press this up and sew it so that there's a little space for an elastic to go through. And I'm going to, so I can gather the bottom of the top. Okay, now I'm going to try the little top on to see how tight I want it around my waist. And then I'll sew the elastics together, clip it off, and sew up the rest of that seam. Now I'm going to sew the fringe along the bottom of the sleeves. Now I'm using a scrap piece of satin fabric to make a waistband. I'm going to pin it to the waistband. And then I'm going to go sew it on. Now I'm folding the waistband over the back side of the skirt. I'm laying it right on the seam line and just stitching it all the way around. Now I'm going to fold the waistband in to form a facing. And I'm going to stitch it one more time along the top to create an invisible waistband. And now for the zippers.